Welcome to That's Rad Life Planning in the Pacific Northwest, where our goal is to educate and elevate. I am Radhika, planner and owner of Rad Occasions, and today I'm joined by Kirn from Kinu and Sizzling Tandoor, two local restaurants here in Victoria, BC. Welcome to the show. Would you mind sharing your pronouns and where you're joining us from?
Yeah, of course. So I'm joining you from Victoria, BC, and my pronouns are she, her.
And you're in your restaurant right now, too.
I am, yeah. I almost wore a shirt and I would have blended right into the background, so I had to switch last minute.
I mean, I do love that wallpaper, though.
I know, it's so nice, and it's like texture, so people like walk by and feel it all the time.
Is it? Okay, I'm gonna have to do that next time I'm there.
Yes, it's so beautiful.
Okay, so for those who are listening that are unfamiliar with your two restaurants, can you tell us more about Sizzling Tandoor and your restaurant as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sizzling Tandoor is our original restaurant that my family started, and I took over about 10 years ago. I guess I started working for them, and it just very quickly evolved into like a full-on leadership and role and evolution, which is kind of how Kinu came about. So all the things that I was doing with Sizzling, under that like traditional name kind of seemed like, it needed its own identity. And so out of that was Kinu was born. And so we kind of call it like the cooler younger sibling, or we always laugh and say we're like, well, we'll call Sizzling the parent company, and people will be like, yeah, literally it's the parent company. So yeah, like the next gen restaurant would be Kinu,
Oh, that's
which is where I am right
lovely. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you always think you were going to be a part of the family business?
Oh my goodness, no. And I don't think my parents thought that either. We're actually like such an independent family. There's only four of us. It's my parents, my brother, and myself. And we've all always done our own thing. And my parents are so like connected together. So they tend to, go on ventures, and they like saw their life, of course, together the whole time. But they were kind of like, the kids are flying like the nest, and and we can kind of take on this project, which was a major passion project. It feels like it kind of came about as, and then here we are 15 years later. I mean, not only am I working for them, but the restaurants are still here, and we've also like evolved with Kinu. So yeah, it's been a very fun and spontaneous journey, I'd say.
I know it's tough because you said that you've been around for 15 years. And was there any point in time, like maybe the pandemic, where you were like, oh no, I don't know if this is going to work out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think day one of the pandemic, or just like leading up to the pandemic, that was definitely a thought, and all throughout the pandemic. And then things kind of got better with takeout and, money being given to folks, and this kind of like inflation, and and then everything's changed again. I'd say, the last couple of years particularly have been super challenging, which is no secret. I think most restaurant owners that you speak to will say the same thing. But yeah, I think we're all hopeful that 2026 will be a better year. So, I mean, I feel like we've hung on this long. Why not? Like, if we can hold on a little bit longer, and things hopefully start to get better for everybody.
Yeah, it's been a long journey from 2020. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Did you always see Kinu as a place for people to gather for moments like weddings? Was that the intention behind creating it?
Not when the concept kind of first came about. I think initially the concept was just to create something that was a little bit younger and allowed us to exercise our creativity and showcase, Indian food, but in such a unique way, really giving it that like kind of contemporary global spin, along with, kind of showcasing all the different regions and, what India's all about. But then, as soon as the design came together and I like stepped into the space, I knew immediately. I was like, this is honestly the perfect intimate gathering spot. And when I'm in here every day, I literally think of like cocktail receptions and, those types of events where it's just, not like a seated dinner per se. It's that really kind of beautiful big city, you're dressed up, you walk around, you have drinks, you mingle, and yeah. So like an engagement, a bridal shower, a baby shower, stuff like that.
I love that. And I love the space. Did you have a hand in designing it?
So we had a designer, Robin Rothschild. She's amazing. She's done so many great projects around town. I believe she was on Citrus and Cane as well as Humboldt Bar. And so you'll kind of, when you walk in, you feel that, but we still have our unique identity. But Robin was super great about kind of hearing me out on any things that I really wanted that were on my wish list, anything that I really didn't want, because we've designed restaurants before where we're like, this just absolutely doesn't work out. And then she was super open to suggestions. So like she kind of knew I had an eye for design or like knew what I liked. So if there was something I suggested, she was super game. And she was also very transparent if she thought something absolutely wasn't going to work in the space. And, you know, she's the expert at the end of the day. I can't say I can envision it like her, but it was really cool. She let me be her little sidekick for fun, I'd say.
And then, yeah, I mean, I know I can't show everybody the space right now,
Yeah.
but I'll have to share one of the reels I took from the last event you had.
Yeah, totally. Or I can do a little like camera spin at one point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
So, did you I don't know about you, but I grew up being teased about my food. I was always so embarrassed to open up my lunchbox at school. And how are you feeling that's changed now?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's such a good point. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I mean, I experienced the same. I think just recently I was sharing the story with somebody about like, I just took a turkey sandwich to school just like anybody else. Like it was so basic or like Lunchables. Yeah, people were brutal. Like they'd be like, oh yeah, like it's like your food smells like curry. And I'm like, we hardly eat Indian food at home, which is kind of the crazy like part of it all, right? So definitely if there was like a time where like my mom did for whatever random reason pack a Bronta or something, I'd be like, absolutely not. Like there's no chance if my sandwich doesn't fly, like this will fly. But it's really cool to see that a lot of people that come in now, like I've noticed this at Sizzling more so than Kinu just because there's more traditional food available. But like little kids would jump at the idea of you know, taking their leftovers to school. So I'd see so many young kids like request butter chicken for their birthdays. And I'm talking like as young as, you know, 5, 6 years old or, you know, and they'd come in, they're so excited. This is what they've asked for. And if they had leftovers, they'd be like, I'm going to take this to school. And so that made me really happy. And it kind of led to us actually even doing like a hot pack lunch one year at a Montessori school, which was super neat to see like kids ordering that off of one of their options.
Well, that's so great. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the culture being celebrated instead of teased.
Yeah. And I feel like parents are doing a really good job with, you know, introducing kids to, you know, different foods. I think there's just so much more out there on the internet. And yeah, I think it's different than what it was when we were growing up or even like when our parents, whether they grew up here or they came over from the motherland. But, you know, I think people just had such a traditional view on like going out and how they enjoyed. And people would just be like, oh, my kids can't eat spice or the food's going to be too flavorful or this, that, and the other. And they would make these assumptions. Whereas now I think parents are very experimental. They're like, if anything, this is going to benefit us because we can go out for this type of food if our child eats this. So I hear kids talking about sushi all the time and people, yeah, eating buttered chicken. So it's super great to see how cultured the new generation is.
Yeah, my son loves sushi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
get him to eat dal yet, but sushi's all about.
It's always whatever
Yeah,
our food is. So we used to be
yeah.
like that. And it's so funny because I think my brother was like tenfold more than I was. And, you know, now he'll call my mom and be like, oh, and he'll talk about like how his wife loves Indian food. And he used to kind of be like, oh, like more of a meat and potatoes kind of guy. And he'll call and be like, oh, she made okra. I had okra today. My mom's like, who are you? Like, I could hardly get you to eat lentils. And now he like craves it and he makes it and he wants it. So yeah, I think there's something to say about, you know, once we grow up, we really start to embrace our own cultures. It's just something that happens naturally. I don't know why, but
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And now I know there's some intersectionality here too, because you're a woman of color in a male dominated industry. Do you find that like being who you are also adds another challenge in your industry?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think in life in general, we all kind of, you know, experience the gender bias, the race bias, and then took over the restaurant at like 22, so there was like a huge age bias. It definitely plays out in, you know, like in my industry or, you know, in our careers. I think earlier on, I felt the challenges a lot more. It's just so hard to feel accepted. You do find yourself apologizing a lot and looking for validation and, you know, just assuming like men are so, I guess, assertive when they give their opinion. And as soon as you kind of give an assertive opinion, it's like you're rude, you know, like you kind of just get exiled. And yeah, it's been a huge learning curve. And a big part of my experience in so many different ways. But I think as you get older, you become a lot more unapologetic. So for me, I've kind of, I've done a lot of that healing work and really pushed the boundaries. I'm a huge advocate, not just for myself, but for other people, whether it's in art, like this industry or just in general, like when I see these things playing out and it's hard. Like I'm anxious to also like, speak out and be the person who gets the repercussions constantly. But it's really important to me that, that I advocate. I try to, mentor the younger kids, kind of with my journey so that, they can kind of you build that tougher skin. So I kind of say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so, yeah, that's just, I've kind of taken it as a lesson and I keep trying to grow every day from it, but it very much exists.
Yeah, and I completely understand that from my perspective too, because I feel like anytime I advocate for something, I get that like sick feeling in my stomach and I get like anxious about it. But it's like one of those things that you need to say
Yes,
and
totally.
for things to get better.
Absolutely. I'm like, I don't know if I just said that wrong, but what doesn't makes you stronger. That's so funny. I don't know why I was tripping on that. But no, absolutely. And a lot of people, it's hard because like a lot of people aren't comfortable speaking up. And I really do empathize with them. Like I was so anxious growing up, and my mom would always be that person who'd like push me to speak up. And like she'd go speak to like bullies at school. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe this. But, now I really admire that quality. And she's a fairly shy person too. So it's taken her, a lot to like get out of that comfort zone, but she realized the importance of it. So I kind of, when people are like, oh, I feel like it comes so easily to you to ask for whatever you want or, kind of like push those boundaries and advocate it's hard because I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like it's equally as hard for me too. You get that like, feeling in your stomach, like you just said, where you don't know what the person in front of you is going to say and how that's going to negatively impact you, but it's got to be done. Someone's got to do it.
Yes, and I mean, I've seen you out and about, and I'm like, she does make it look easy. So I'm
Thank
glad I'm not the only one who
you.
thinks that.
Oh, that's so sweet. I know. It's so sweet hearing, people just be like, you're so confident, you're so this. And like, we all have our moments, or like, just internally, you don't always feel like that. And that's also a huge kind of, narrative I do try sharing with people so that they understand. Like, I love that that's the perception. And of course, I enjoy, interacting in a confident manner and, being outspoken and all of that. But it's not always how I'm feeling on the inside. And then that can sometimes kind of feel a little bit like not always being seen for who I am, I suppose. And everyone always just like, oh, she's got a tough skin. And I'm like, I have to literally turn off the Google reviews on my phone because I will cry.
No.
Yeah. So many letters like that.
So that brings me to my next question then. Challenges like that, like Google reviews and, increasing cost of ingredients. Some people have even said like the sober curious movement has been a challenge in the restaurant industry. How do you deal with all of that?
Oh, it's hard. There's no secret formula. I think, you're just so lucky to have like friends and family that, you can lean on when, you're really going through it. But therapy is great. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like you really have to like talk these things out in a safe space. But when it comes to like, operationally, when you're talking about like cost and stuff, like there's just really not a lot of ways around it right now. So you kind of make the most of, what you have on hand. I think with Kinu, it's allowed us to be a little more intentional with our menu planning and the way we do our dishes and kind of like our future plans. We intend on doing a prefix menu, which will really allow us to not only provide a really cool, curated, elevated experience for our guests, but also allows us to streamline things in the kitchen, right? So we have an expectation of what, people are going to be ordering, which reduces waste. But at Kinu, the menu is a lot smaller, but there's something for everybody. I think at places like Sizzling, it's very hard where people have this expectation of, traditional Indian food needing to be inexpensive, being large portions, and then also having, 50 varieties of things available. We want to be able to take off dishes that just don't make sense for our business. But, sometimes people will be like, well, I'm going to order from the next place because they not only have dal and tandoori chicken, they also have, okra. And you're like, that's too bad because we know that, our quality really speaks for itself. So whether it's like, the price tag that's deterring them, or maybe the lack of variety if we change our menu, it makes it really challenging. So we haven't quite figured out a way around that. But I think, again, as I'm leaning into my 30s, I think just being unapologetic and being like, this is what we have. This is what we do really well. This is what works for us because we need to stay in business. Like we can't keep all these things and then throw them out and just kind of running with that. I think that's going to be really important. So still learning to channel that post COVID, still very much like rebuilding our team and bringing on partners that, have that same vision and operational understanding or maybe even more knowledge than I do so that we can kind of keep building on our systems.
That's fantastic. And I touched on the sober curious movement. Has
Yeah.
that affected you at all, or have you just worked with it?
Yeah. So I think for us, just not being super, um, I guess, as I don't want to say not bar forward because that's been like huge focus of mine, but I guess traditionally people don't use our establishment as this primary drinking spot. So we haven't seen a huge shift, which has been really like great for us. You do notice it a little bit, but it hasn't impacted us a whole lot. I will say for us, it's been really great to be able to introduce more, I guess, mocktail options. Like, some of our clientele are halal and they've been our clientele way before a sober curious movement started. And so, in fact, it's just offered more options for those folks who were already our existing guests and allowed us to like diversify and evolve and expand rather than just having, like mango lassi and chai and something super basic like juice and pop. We're able to do some really intricate mocktails. There's so many amazing non-alcoholic spirits on the market now. And yeah, I think there's just so many options. And it's really neat because before it was like, this is going to be super sugary and, not like, yeah. And so health was a huge kind of top of mind kind of idea. And then, with new drinks coming out with the adaptogens and all sorts of other health benefits, it's been really cool to see the evolution and people love it. There's so many drinkers I know that come in and actually do get a non-alcoholic beverage at a pretty similar price and they're happy with it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've seen a lot of options, even when we go to like restock our wine cupboard. My son loves to be included, so we get him like one of those non-alcoholic white wine spritzers, and he's just happy to be included.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so neat. I didn't even think of that perspective because, of course, I think every kid is so curious when, your parents are drinking and when it's something that's like forbidden. I think that's also kind of what creates that like binging drink or that binge drinking culture or whatever, if you may. It's that curiosity that leads to that. And so I think, it's so neat to like in Europe and whatnot, people drink wine from a really young age. It's part of their dinner and it's not something that's like forbidden and that curiosity doesn't lead to over consuming. So I think if we have like safe ways like this with non-alcoholic stuff to introduce it, let it be around them, they may not even want to drink alcohol in the future. I know it is a big money-making industry. There's definitely great profit margins in it. But at the end of the day, I think you have to think about humanity and health and all of that too. So if people choose not to drink, I think that's great. And if they do indulge in beverages, we definitely don't judge them for that either.
100%. So it sounds like you've traveled a lot. Have you had any experiences that impacted how you created the menu for Kinyu, how you operate your business?
Yeah, I went on a solo trip around India in 2019, and that was so fun and so inspiring. And I hate to admit this, but I was a picky eater growing up. So as the years have gone on, I think that was kind of like my big start to being more explorative with tasting new things. I kind of dabbled in being more explorative over kind of like the years leading up to it, but that's when I think I really felt that breakthrough come in. So we have the dokri chaat on the menu, which was a dish that, I'd seen be made in Lucknow, and there's a really famous spot that does it. I'm like, this looks stunning. This looks amazing. I need to go try this. Like, I'm really familiar with chaat. And then unfortunately, I was really sick and had a fever, just lost my appetite. So I didn't actually get to taste it, but when we were doing the Kinu menu, I was like, I need to recreate this here. So definitely there's like inspiration from the travels and just learning how much more there is to like Indian food. Like I always knew it, but when you taste it for yourself, you can kind of pick and choose and be like, this is so cool. What do I want to bring in? What regions do I want to highlight? And makes it more inclusive too. Like now that the Indian community in Canada is evolving, like everyone's not just Punjabi. You have a lot of people from south of India. And when I say south of India, it's like that can be like Kerala, it can be Tamil Nadu, that can be, like Bangalore. Like there's so many different places these folks come from. We had a guy from Calcutta here. So I was like doing some research and I like dropped this dish's name and he was like, how do you know about this? And I'm like, because I'm so curious, like what you guys have in Calcutta and how does it differ to what we eat in Punjab? And I want to showcase that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know Punjabi food has a lot of onions in it. My aunt is always telling my mom to put less onions in the food.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I always say to people, like when people ask for like recipes at the restaurant, like that's always such an awkward question because you're
yeah,
like happy to give you like the general, but like, our recipes are proprietary to us. But I would say to people like whenever you read a recipe on the internet, like be tenfold generous with the garlic, the onions, and the tomatoes, because like ultimately that's what you're like where all the flavor comes from. And one of my best friends growing up, she ended up living with me for a couple of years. We were roommates. Whenever I'd cook, she'd be like, "You just make everything taste so good." Like I'd be, like preparing like taco meat or whatever. And like the base to most of my stuff is like, whether it's like pasta sauces or, like making tacos or whatever, it's like onions, garlic, and tomato. And that's literally all it came down to. So it's funny because I never used to eat black pepper. So she got me onto like just seasoning everything with salt and pepper. And then I got her onto using like tomatoes, garlic, and onions. And so it was great.
yeah. It's a melding of the cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so before I let you go, I do need to ask what you have coming up, besides your beautiful price fix menu that you were talking about. Are you going to be any of the festivals coming up?
Yeah, we're gonna actually be doing Culinary, which comes it's this week on Thursday, so that will be really fun. It's our first time doing Culinary, and the organizers for that are the same folks that do Brewery and the Beast. So that was our first time this year doing that, and they brought us on for Culinary. We are gonna be doing a beautiful gala called, I believe it's called Dine Around the World by Beacon Bits. So the Beacon Bits community is like a senior living community that not like a not for profit that gives that it creates food security for senior folks and youth at risk. So that's a really great cause. And my favorite part about that event is they're actually just doing all global food. The vendors are so unique and there's only 8 vendors. So you kind of get like 2 to 3 bites from each vendor versus kind of going to 60 different vendors. And I'm just so excited to be around all these other beautiful like cultures. Because often when we go to these kinds of galas or events, I'm not going to lie, like you kind of feel a little bit left out. There's usually not a lot of ethnic restaurants presenting. Sometimes those are the spaces where people will walk up and be like, "Oh, you're Indian food? No, thank you." And I'm like, "We're serving a gnocchi, but okay."
Yeah.
So those are kind of the 2 on my radar right now. But we do take our food truck to neat local markets. So it's called Folk Fair, I believe, at Junction Cidery, and that's coming up at the end of the month. And the rest is history. I mean, just as things kind of keep coming along, we're hoping that, from the cocktail side of things that, we are able to participate again and maybe doing a pop-up at the North America's 50 Best kind of showcase that happens in Vancouver. But we'll definitely like be participating in just kind of the events in general, like enjoying them. But hopefully we can do a pop up there and plans for the restaurant. Like we're hoping if patio licenses get approved, we'll have a patio at Kinu this summer. We've got a prefixed menu coming out soon. I think those are it. And then lunch, I think the big thing that everyone asks is like, well, Kinu's open all day. Why don't you guys have a lunch buffet? So we were heavily moving away from, that buffet trend. It's really wasteful and it doesn't showcase our food the way we want it to. Ends up being just like kind of cheap and fast service. So we're looking to kind of create maybe some faster, like quick serve lunch options, or maybe offering a variety in a way where it's still customizable to each guest and creates that personable experience, something like a thali, which I'm sure you're
Yeah.
familiar with. But yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
equivalent of a bento box where you kind of get a few different things and it's like a complete like lunchbox meal. So
I love that because I find sometimes with different Indian foods sitting in a buffet,
mhm.
the longer it sits, like the quality
Yes.
just goes degrades, especially with things like okra, and like
Mhm.
because it gets all sticky.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest challenges with the buffet. Like, we'll continuously keep cooking your food, so you'll put out fresh tandoori chicken, and then by the time a guest gets up there, it might have dried out, or the curries start to even just have that like kind of filmy layer, which is just it kind of getting thicker from the heat. But yeah, it doesn't create that same presentation that we're hoping to kind of showcase. You were proud of our food, and we really want people to see it in that light. And also, like, waste is something to really consider, not just from like a restaurant's cost perspective, but just from like a humanity perspective. Like, we're wasting so much food, and why do we think that's okay? If we're looking for a $20 or $25 lunch option, can we do that in a more sustainable way? And I think that's huge. You see a lot of restaurants focusing on sustainability these days. So, for our lunch program, I think that's going to be a huge, huge focus.
That's fantastic to hear. Okay. Before I let you go for the day, I want to play a little game with you. And
Sure.
it's going to be what, like, food you would eat, Indian food you would eat for like the
Okay.
rest of your life. So we'll see which one wins. Okay.
Ooh,
All right. So please tell me if you haven't heard of some of these because I've kind of eaten food from all over. It sounds like you
sure.
have too, but
Okay.
yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay. Would you rather have Italy or dosa?
Oh, is it rava idli? I love rava idli. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love rava. Okay, I'm gonna say rava idli.
Okay.
Yeah,
So rava Italy or biryani?
biryani,
Okay, biryani or chana masala?
biryani,
Okay, biryani or I'm gonna go into the sweets now. Jalebi.
jalebi.
Okay, jalebi or rasmalai.
Ooh, I grew up like being obsessed with rasmalai. I just feel like jalebi's harder to get. No, why would you do this to me? Okay, I'm gonna say rasmalai. I'm gonna stick to my roots.
Okay, and then we're gonna either go rasmalai or rasgulla. I
No
know,
way!
I know. I struggle with these choices too.
I
I wanted to hear
know.
your opinion.
Rasgulla, I literally, like, will never forget, like, just when anyone would come from Vancouver, we'd be like, "We need 1 pound of mirtai, mixed rasgullas, please." I'd always ask for, like, the pink ones, and you'd get the white ones, the pink ones, and back then they used to have green as well.
Yeah, I don't see the green ones
I
anymore.
know, I don't either,
Yeah.
actually. And it's funny because I don't think they actually taste different, they're just different colors, for the most part. But I remember going to, and like, saying to my cousins, like, "Oh my gosh, I need a rasgulla," and they got me, like, a spongy rasgulla, which is like a rasgulla, like the Calcutta, like, Bengali rasgulla, and I was like, "This isn't a rasgulla," because I was so used to, like, what we got out here, which, they do have those types too, but they were like, "Oh, we were getting you, like, the more premium option," and I was like, "No, I just want a classic rasgulla," and I love rasgullas. I literally used to say that I wanted to marry a Halvite when I grew up because I wanted unlimited mitai, so
That's hilarious. I
yeah.
mean, I feel like I probably said that too at one point.
I feel like I said that up until not long ago, and my parents would both laugh because I don't know if you remember ever going to, like, Vancouver. Because where are you from? You're from Edmonton, or
Edmonton, yeah. So we
okay.
have like the same kind of things they have in Little India, but like more all over Edmonton.
Okay, so in
Yeah.
Vancouver, there's a spot on Main Street, and, I'm blanking on what the name was. It was, like, something similar to Deep India or All India or something. And we would know we're getting close because, like, right outside, they had this kinda stereotypical, like, chef statue, and it was like a bigger guy. Yeah, like, he was like the Halvite, and for anyone who doesn't know what Halvite is like a sweet maker, and so they had this, like, big, like, statue of a sweet maker, but I was just like, "Nope." Like, I'm still down. I'm still down.
Okay, so your final answer is Rasgula or
Rasgulla,
Rasmalai? Okay, we have a
rasgulla.
winner.
Yeah,
Well,
that
thank you
was
so
fun. Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time because I know you're very busy,
Oh,
and
I appreciate you.
I I will have to come in at some point or I'll catch you at the next festival.
Yeah, absolutely. You're
Yeah.
welcome in anytime. And yeah, I'll just kind of do like a little quick one for everybody. We don't have a
Yeah,
lot.
anyone who's watching on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's our bar right there. I mean, this is probably my favorite is this orange kind of tree thing that we've got going on because that's what Kinu is. And then we've got beautiful like lounge seating like this. We do have kind of our fireplace and whatnot is it's not on, but we've got some traditional seating down there and then some more loungy stuff. So it's a really great spot to pop in, whether it's just for a snack or you want to pop in for a full meal. But yeah, we want to
Yeah,
welcome everyone in, and we're really excited for people to try Kunu. I feel like the city, has been asking for something, unique and different, and I think this is one of a kind. So
definitely.
yeah,
So I will see you soon.
yeah, I look forward to it. Thanks, Rathika.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
A huge thank you to Karen for being on the show. I know she's very busy, and we really appreciate her taking the time. Stay tuned for another episode with a new guest next week. And in the meantime, stay rad.
Can you get into the funk tonight? Can you stomp to the beat and sway to the right? Can you feel it deep down in your soul? Can you dance to the rhythm and lose control? Can you let it move you, let it choose you? Get in the funk and the funk will flow through you. Up and down, you'll be bouncing like a yo-yo, feeling frisky, dancing at the disco. Let's get up and dance. You got me bounce, 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 bouncing like a yo-yo. Can you feel my heart beat fast? Can you make the moment last? Can I hold you in my trance? My cannon fire, my magic dance. I really groove you, I wanna choose you. Pull up a seat and watch the music move you. Getting lost in the moment, we'll go crazy for each other, dancing at the disco. Can you get into the funk tonight? Can you stomp to the beat and sway to the right? Can you feel it deep down in your soul? Can you dance to the rhythm and lose control? Can you